I worded that poorly. I think obviously he's going back to second base. He might get some DH days in there too, just for rest. But I think he goes back to second base. I think he goes to the sixth spot. I think it'd be good for him and good for the bottom of the lineup. I like Mookie in the leadoff spot right now, but he does need some extra help at the bottom. And if you push him to 6 and you push Devers to 7, then all of a sudden you got a little bit more down there. Not that Nunez has been awful, but he hasn't been amazing either.
Right. Yeah. Well, his bat has heated up though in the last last couple of weeks or so. I think.
Yeah, it's coming around again. A lot of them for Nunez are kind of like not bloop, but they find space singles.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. They're not ripping the ball. It's not like Judge against Kimbrel the other night, which that thing hasn't landed yet. So it's not the most promising thing in the world, I feel.
Yeah. Well, one way or the other, I mean, things have their way of working themselves out. I mean, who's to say Pedroia doesn't, pull a hamstring or whatever, or maybe Nunez does, or, these guys will get their playing time one way or the other.
Oh yeah, everyone will come up in and out. I mean, you'll see Taeju Lin up here again for sure, and like playing regularly in another month or two probably.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of hard decisions though. I mean, because when Pedroia comes back, I mean, you still want Devers to play fairly often. You're still going to want Nunez to play fairly often. So I would assume that's going to put Martinez in the outfield more to kind of free up the DH spot a little bit, kind of maybe even for Pedroia, as you mentioned. And so I just don't know. I think JBJ, I think his days are fairly limited, and Wright's going to be back. I think if he didn't get activated today, it'll be tomorrow. So we were talking.
Is he going to Pawtucket at all?
I don't believe so.
He's going to come straight up. I just didn't know if he's going to do any type of, not rehab because it was an injury, but I mean, he hasn't pitched in the game in a while.
Okay, I thought he was doing some type of pitching. I'll pull him up in a second, but I mean, Hembree, I think will be the next man out. He's out of options. I think Matt Barnes is out of options, but I still see some value with him.
I think you need Barnes up here just for the velocity itself.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, there's just some guys are just going to have to be cut, and I think Hembree's going to be one of them. I think Johnson's probably going to exit via a trade, unfortunately, because Thornburg's going to be back before long. So it's tough.
Yeah, it's not a bad problem to have, I guess.
No, and also Pedroia, where he's not. Even though he's not a pitcher, I mean, still a move needs to be made there. So it's going to be interesting to see how the cookies crumble. Brock Holt, though, does have an option left, so they can kind of stash him down in Pawtucket.
I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'm not a big Brock guy like some people are, but I mean, I wouldn't waste that option by any means. If we can, put him down there just for the luxury of doing it, I certainly
if it
would.
saves a player, if it saves a quality player, I think it's worth it. If it saves you a pitcher, if it saves you Hembree or Johnson, even if that means you trade Johnson away in a trade with JBJ, like you're saying, maybe in a little bit, I think JBJ, his time might be numbered here, which stinks because I think he's the best defensive center fielder in the American League. I just don't think the numbers show because nobody runs on the guy, so he has no one to throw out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it just remains to be seen how these dominoes are going to fall. I got this thing up on Wright. I guess he might have pitched a relief game on Friday.
Oh, so they had him in. Okay, I didn't know if they had him in yet or not. I didn't look too much on him. I saw Thornburg the other night. He had a couple good innings to go. So.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, he could, depending on, I assume Price is healthy, but, who's to say Wright doesn't, find his way into the rotation eventually. But anyway, let's transition here. This will be the final segment. We'll get into the Oakland series now. Sean Manaea versus Rick Porcello. I don't know if Porcello's still our front runner, from the Red Sox to possibly win a Cy Young now that Sale's heated up. But still, Porcello is, one of our more consistent guys. I believe he still is 5-0, so.
He is 5-0. We bailed him out with some run support against the Yankees for that decision.
I wonder if there's any other undefeated pitchers. There must be, but he must be one of them.
I don't know if Velasquez took that loss in Texas, but he was also 4-0, even though he wasn't a starter. He was tied with the league for wins at the time with Porcello, actually.
Yeah, I don't think he could have taken the loss because I think Price was responsible for.
Oh yeah, it was right. That was bases loaded that he came in on with the run. So yeah, Price took the loss for that one. So he kept his streak going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess step one is what? Get a hit off Manea. That's like step one right out of the gate.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Because we don't need him putting us into another funk. Chris.
No,
you didn't see him then if he's pitching game 1 for us. Oh, did I lose him?
What was that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you cut off. You cut off for a second.
Sean Manea, you guys actually missed him, didn't you?
Oh yeah, no, we avoided him, and I was so glad that we did.
Like the play.
I wish you didn't.
I think it's not bad that you guys are going to see him again because, to be honest with you, the game plan that he went into against the Red Sox, he threw more changeups, and I heard Remy say today actually about Sean Manaea that he threw over 30% more changeups than he has all season. And for a Red Sox team that's game planning, when he's throwing that changeup for strikes, and then he has that sweeping slider with the fastball that he has the ability to have that two-seam movement inside to a righty, away to a left, or away to a lefty when he can spot it, it's hard to be able to hit him. But I think Manaea definitely – I'm glad that we were able to avoid him. I mean, we faced Kendall Graveman, who you're going to see the final game of the 3-game series. And then we saw Triggs and Graveman. Graveman, Triggs, and then we saw one other guy too as well.
Was it Megden?
No, it wasn't. No, UC Megden.
Kale?
No, Kale's on the DL.
Oh, Kale's on the DL now. That's right. Okay, yeah, I don't know who it is then.
Yeah, it was Triggs, Graveman, and I don't know why the other one's escaping me. I'll probably think of it later. But I'm telling you right now, Oakland, the one thing they do, they can hit. Chris Davis hit 2 home runs. I understand it's in a wiffle ball ballpark, but man, I'm surprised.
I mean, he's got 11 on the year. So
yeah, I'm surprised they haven't traded him yet to try to get any sort of prospects in return because you can't tell me this guy cannot change a ball club offensively.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, he hits 210 for average, but I mean, the guy just mashes the ball. And if you need a team, like who could use him? Minnesota could use him. The Yankees before Stanton could use him. Before JD Martinez, the Red Sox could use him. So you could find a team that 100% could use them. They're hitting. I mean, Jed Lowry's been a really surprise this year, which is good for him. Biscotti has been, he's batting 250 on the year pretty much, but he's a good clubhouse guy. I think that's bringing things around. And
Canna's been good too.
Yeah,
outfielder. He's batting he came in today batting 290.
Oh yeah. He's batting like 295 now.
Right fielder, Mark Canna. He was a no-name guy. He wasn't a top prospect. He wasn't a guy that people talked of like. I know people are goo gagaing over Franklin Bierto, who they acquired for Josh Donaldson. But beyond him and a couple other guys, no one talked about Cannon. But Cannon's been the one consistent guy who's come up through their system, besides Chapman and Olsen. But Cannon's that no-name guy. But he's playing better than both of them.
Yeah, he is. He's playing really well. And then you've got a shortstop that, I mean, we have the luxury of having shortstops that can hit in Didi and Bogarts. But, I mean, Marcus Semien, he had a real strong push last year at the end of the year, and now he's batting 275, which, I mean, I would love for a shortstop that can play good defense, borderline great defense, to bat 275 in today's MLB. I'd take that.
He made 50 years a couple years ago.
Yeah, really, seriously. They're a good team, though. I mean, they are, and we were talking about today, Terry and I, and we talked about it for a little bit. They went from a rebuild to a retool kind of quickly. I mean, they still need a bullpen, and they need a actual, stadium to play in.
And starters.
And starters. But, you look at Manaea and you look at guys like Mengden and like Graveman, that if they can just get it down a little bit, they don't have to be your number 2, like legit, like Rick Porcello, your Pomeranz last year, or your Severino a couple of years ago. You don't have to be that. But, man, if they could just get it together a little bit in that competitive division, it'd be good.
Well, look at the guys that they have in their system in the minor leagues. They drafted 2 guys from Florida a couple of years ago, A.J. Puck and Logan Shore. And,
Logan Shore's a good prospect.
Oh, he's got a heavy 2-seamer. Reminds me a lot of Derek Lowe back in the day when he pitched for the Red Sox. But I know they lost.
Love Derek Lowe.
Oh, he was great back in the day. I know they lost A.J. Puck to Tommy John, so that's a big blow. But I think for Oakland, and the biggest thing, and we talked about teams moving to another ballpark, mainly Tampa Bay. Oakland needs one of 2 things to happen. They either need to have a set stadium where they can attract fans and keep their stars and not have to trade them once they become expensive, or 2, they have to move. Otherwise, this churning out and keep trying to retool and rebuild, fans can't connect with these players, and that's why they can't get anybody.
No, they can't get a single person. It's bad when they had a free day at the ballpark. I mean, that's at the major league level. You can't have that.
Yeah, and I mean, there has been some talk of them possibly moving to San Jose, but it just seems like they're at least a year or 2 from finalizing any type of deal to move anywhere, and then from then on, you're at least 2 or 3 more years away for the stadium to be built. So, I think they're going to be in Oakland for the next at least 4 to 5 years. And they're like, with Billy Beane, like, it must be painful for their fan base, because they'll build their team the way they do it and then have 3 or 4 good years, but then the next 5 or 6 after that is just, it's going to be a purgatory there, and it just has to be frustrating. But I think with this current rebuild, they're maybe 2 years away, I would say, at least. Not too far away, but,
Yeah, 2 or 3 years, I think. I don't know what you think, Chris. And once you said, if they can get some starting pitching, the batters can hit, and you just need one guy to come up. And if he can help Manaea, all of a sudden you got a 1-2 punch, and then you can fill in the rest.
See, I might be the one guy who might, I personally think it's going to be a little bit longer than that, because you need both. You need your hitters and you need the pitchers to be able to peak at the same time. And if one out peaks the other, then you run into a situation where you have to trade either the team, or more so the player or players that are not reaching their potential because the other side is. And that's when you start to run into a situation where you look at Jake Arrieta. He went on to another team. He became a superstar. You look at someone like Doc Holliday. He was great with Toronto, rest in peace. He eventually was traded to the Phillies, and he was just lights out. So for Oakland, until they can get some guys that can pitch every 5th day and be consistent, Sean Manaea cannot do it himself. And they really, Graveman has shown potential. Brett Anderson is just a flyer guy out there. Mengden is at best a number 4 starter. And Triggs is, on a bad team like Oakland, I understand they're okay, but he's a number 5 starter on a decent team at best. So, like I said, until Oakland can get some starting pitchers, it's going to be very hard for them to be able to win on a consistent basis. You can't score 10 runs a game, every game. It's impossible.
Right, and I was just looking at Manaea, and it looks like he's under control for another 5 seasons, so he's not going to be a trade chip for them, I would not think.
Billy Beane, though. He's licking his chops to trade him right now.
Well, he's thinking he could trade him right now and get 3 more Manaeas for 5 years from now, then they're all ready.
Yeah, that would be hard to justify, though, if it didn't work out. We're going with it with Dombrowski right now for the whole Travis Shaw thing, and I blame Farrell for Shaw not really panning out, because he kept benching him, and
yeah, he didn't like him.
Yeah, and it didn't. So I'm not surprised at all that Shaw's thriving in Milwaukee right now. But
did you